Hey friends, welcome to this live. Welcome. My name is Elena Motonono, and I haven't been here coming live for a while, so I'm really excited for this opportunity. I tried it last month, but something happened with the network and it didn't work. So hopefully it's going to work this time. Um, my name is Elena Motonono. I help online language teachers move to a more sustainable way of teaching languages online. You start out with one-to-ones, you max out all of your time, and then if you want to make more money, you need to somehow change something, change your offer, and stop exchanging time for money. And because what's available is not really working well, like online courses and academies and other things require a lot of your time, something you don't have, then you're kind of stuck. And so I help online language teachers with that. And I do that through this channel. And I do that in more detail in the digital products that I create. And I talk more about that, and I help people take action inside my community in the Smart Teachers Library. But today I want to talk about voice chats and voice chat based programs, which is one of the ways that you can move away from one-to-one classes. What happens and why voice chat programs fail, right? Sometimes teachers go through my materials or even through this YouTube channel and they say, okay, I'm really on board with voice chat based learning or Google Docs based learning. I totally get it. But they go in and then after a while, things don't work. Or maybe they try it the first time and it doesn't work. So today I'm going to dive in and talk a little bit about that. So usually what happens is the reason number one, your program doesn't work. Maybe you run it. Maybe you have some people that really would like to join it. But then after that, they're like, no thanks. I want to go to one-to-ones. And while there are some people that really like one-to-ones, if you see that pattern happening, most likely, reason number one, you underprice and you over deliver. So over delivery is the number one reason why your students will not consider staying and sticking with voice chat based or Google Docs based programs. And the reason it happens is when you move from one-to-one classes to something that gives you a lot more time, what tends to happen is you overcompensate for the time that you're no longer going to see the student one-on-one. And you do that by creating more materials and giving more prompts and doing more and more and more and more, which in the end overwhelms the student to the point where they're like, I don't need a program that is so involving. And they say, no, thanks. And then you put yourself back into one-to-one or group classes or in a situation where like it's not working. I actually want to let you know that things don't usually work the first time. If they do, that's amazing, but there's a downside to it, and I'll talk about it. But the first time you try to speak a foreign language, you probably couldn't. And that's totally okay. Things don't work on the first time. So if you tried something for the first time and if it didn't work, well, it's an opportunity for you to reassess and see where you can make changes. You underprice. Some of the teachers get into voice chat based learning and they say, wow, like I go from 10 hours a month to 2 hours a month. And I cannot, because there's a lot of mindset blocks, I cannot charge the same amount that I used to charge. So they underprice. And in combination with over delivery, they create more work for themselves. And so then they say, well, I don't really want to do this kind of format because it requires for me to do more work. Not realizing that more work is what they create for themselves. And if you've been there, it's not something that, somebody does this. Like Everybody does this. I did that the first several times. Most of the teachers that I know that have tried voice chat based learning in the beginning, it feels so new. And so it is very common for them to over deliver. Okay. Maybe you run your program the first time. That's the second problem. You run your program the first time and um, everything seems to be fine. But then your student does not want to re-enroll. So there's a reason why. That's the second. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then the third one is you cannot sell it. Which means essentially that there is either a block when it comes to money and asking for money and making an offer. You know, it's very easy to sell something that people already see on your website or on your on the platform where you're teaching italki, Preply. They come in, they don't really need to figure out what it is, and you don't need to make an offer. So the offer is made on the website. And so when the very first time you try to explain to people what voice chat based is and how people will be learning, they freak out and you freak out as well. And then you can't explain. If somebody who lacks the confidence explains to you, the person who is already not sure what this is, their default response is, probably not. And there's also sometimes some mindset blocks around money and asking people for money. But I won't get into that. So the failures that you have if you try a voice chat based program, what you are up against if you're doing it on your own, right? If you decide to just watch all of these videos and say, I know this. When you go in, it is very likely that number one, you underprice and over deliver. Number two, you might run your program the first time successfully and then it doesn't work and you have no idea what to do. Like, and people tell you, yeah, we liked it, but we want to go back to one-to-one. And then the third problem is you just are not able to sell. You're talking to people about it and they feel like they don't quite get the concept. Now, there are certain mindset blocks that are there, and I'm not going to go down into a lot of them, but here's some. So the first one is when you subconsciously believe that one-to-one classes are the best for your students. Now, you might think that one-to-one classes are kind of exhausting for you, and that's what you want to try voice chat-based learning. But until you are sure how this format is really helpful to your students, until you challenge the belief that you have that one-to-one classes are always better, you will not be able to sell it. It's almost like you're trying to offer this, but you have reservations yourself. The second problem that you might have is I can give more through one-to-one classes. Again, it goes back to the idea one-to-one classes are better. Then the selling part comes from a mindset issue or a belief that says nobody will buy from me. So before you even go, your brain has already made a decision. Nobody will buy from me. Nobody will want this. Nobody will want to pay money for this. And so you're not even trying. Then another thing, when you offer it once and then you want to go into it the second time, you have a fear that the students will go back to one-to-ones, and you already in your mind you're thinking, oh, it's not worth making an offer again because they will go back to one-to-one, which you don't know that. But if you already made a decision in your brain, kind of your brain is like, yeah, they probably, don't worry about making an offer. And the last one that I have here, but of course there are many more, I'm afraid it will fail. Or I'm afraid I'm afraid to market and sell this because I will look ridiculous. People will think I am salesy. People will think I am greedy and all other things. So these are mindset blocks that they already are preventing you from going out and making that offer. Or if you tried it once and it worked, some of these beliefs will prevent you from offering again. And so you will go back to one-to-ones. These beliefs are possible to notice if you are observant of how you think. I am more observant of how I think right now compared to, 5 years ago or 10 years ago when I even started. I had all those things and so much more. A lot of issues around money, around what is actually good and what is actually helpful. A lot of rigidity around how people need to learn the language and that there's only one way. So one by one, I've had to overcome those blocks. And as I overcame them, then all of a sudden it became easier to talk about the value of the offer and to sell it. So, what if you ran a program and it doesn't, or it didn't get you the results that you wanted, or you tried you want to try it again? What is really helpful? If you run your program once and it is more or less successful, it's not a time to say to yourself, okay, from now on it's going to run like this the whole time. Because it won't. Because the way you sell it the very first time is different from the way you sell it the second, the third, etc., because you're dealing with a different segment of your audience. So the very first time you probably will sell it to people who already maybe know you. The second time you will sell it to people that knew you in the past, maybe. The third time you will try to sell and move your influence and your sales kind of audience outside of the people that really know you. And every single time you need to get better at your messaging. You need to get better at how you convey the value of your offer. And so when after the program succeeds, and I used to do this all the time because I used to really hate editing, even with writing. And so after my program did well, I felt like, well, great, now it's going to do really well from now on. And it didn't. So you need to rethink your offer. You need to interview the people that took part in your program. You want to rethink your sales funnel, not to completely redo your offer, but things that you can tweak. Most likely, after the first time you run your program, you will realize that you have over delivered. And that's when it's very important to make a decision to reduce the amount of content that you will be sharing. You will need to think about pricing, because if your student took an asynchronous program, right, a voice chat based or Google Docs program, and then they're done, and then they say, okay, I'm done. Now I want to go back to one-to-ones. If your pricing is the same, then of course they will go back to one-to-ones. So this is a chance for you to rethink that, like how you going to structure your prices. Then, of course, you grow your audience. How can you actively grow your audience? How do you prepare this audience that you're growing to work with you? Because they may not even know what you're offering. How can you do that? And you do that by building a sales funnel, by thinking about this journey that a person takes from somewhere else on the web. They get on your page, and after that, they decide to learn more about your work. How can they do it first for free, and then how can they get enrolled into the program? And does your sales funnel make sense for them, right? You can't bring people in to your world and tell them, hey, I'm going to teach you pronunciation, and then your program is about, I don't know, vocabulary. It doesn't make sense. And you do want to get better at selling. Selling is not rocket science, but it is a science. So there is a method to this madness. There is a way that you can sell. And there is a way to improve that skill. It's not something that is a given as long as you can teach Like if you can teach something, then naturally some people think I can sell, but that doesn't always work that way. So that's what happens after your program does well. All these things are important. And I never thought of these things. I just thought after the first time my program succeeded, I can do it over and over and over. And it didn't always work. And I had no idea why, because I hadn't gone through the process of evaluation and the process of strengthening my skills and the process of sharpening my offer and the process of changing my messaging and the process of reflecting on how my program helped people. Now, let's say you run a program and your program fails in a sense that something doesn't work, your students don't participate, or maybe you tried selling and it didn't work. So, what do you do? Well, the best thing to do at this point is to seek support because trust me, I have done where like something didn't work and I thought, well, if I just try again, but work harder, then definitely it's going to work. And it didn't. So the sooner you start seeking support, the sooner you get outside of this magical belief that you can do anything by yourself and you don't need anybody, the better your results are going to be, the sooner you'll get your results. So seeking support, seeking coaching, seeking some kind of mastermind, seeking people that have already done this type of work, not just anything in generically, but this type of work. Um, Understanding and also accepting the fact that failure is a part of the process. Failure says nothing about you personally. Failure says nothing about the value of your program. Failure says nothing about the people you are trying to um, sell the program to. Um, Everybody is okay. You're okay. Your program is okay. The people that are trying to buy from you are okay. There's a mismatch and miscommunication in how you say things versus them understanding it. And in order to do that better and better, you need to improve and seek support. And when I look at this, goal setting of like, I would like to sell so many things, right? So many programs, and then you fail or nothing happens. What I want for you to think about is goal setting is not like this point to say, oh, this is how many programs I want to sell. And if you don't sell so many, then, ooh, that's a failure. Mm, Selling or goal setting is like these concentric circles, if you can imagine them. So in the center is the goal, right? The goal to be selling out every single time. When I make an offer, I want to sell out within, a short period of time, like 10, 12, 15, however many. But in order to get there, there's certain stages. You need to actually have an offer. You need to show up with an offer. You need to make that offer. You need to work on the messaging and all other things that are important. And each one of those things becomes this concentric circle that goes outside of this goal of selling out to the perimeter, to the outside. And so maybe on the outside of your concentric circle is the circle that said show up. Show up and make an offer, right? Because sometimes we're looking at that main goal of selling out and there's so much pressure that we put on ourselves, and because of that, and it's easy, it's not easy what I'm trying to say on the first try, right? It's kind of like putting the same pressures you're putting on yourself to speak in a language and immediately go on TED talk and talk about something really, really important. It doesn't always happen that way. But maybe your first step for speaking would be, take a class in speaking and also continue improving your language skills, right? That's your outer circle. And so for your sales, for program sales, the outer circles will be showing up and actually taking action, shaping your program. That is really, really important. And then the second, the one that is closer will probably be, building or assessing or learning how to evaluate the failure in your results. And then the next one is this. So you may not even sell as many, but before you get to sell out, there's a lot of other things that form the part of the process. And of course, throughout the whole process, we also grow individually in our mindset, in how we view this thing, how we communicate. When I sell right now, I'm learning to sell and offer to many people at the same time through classes or maybe challenges. And every single time I do this, I look back at how I'm doing this. So, like, maybe I will watch myself, my own recording. Maybe I will, I don't know, listen to my podcast or my own recording, or maybe I will watch how I planned my challenge and at which point I am making an offer and how I'm saying this. And with every single thing, I accept, with every single kind of concentric circle, I accept that there will be things that I will not understand and mistakes. And these mistakes are important for me to get closer to my goal. But in the very beginning, when I was just starting to sell, I had this black and white understanding of goal setting. It's like either this, and if I didn't hit this, forget it. This program is wrong. The course is wrong. The offer is wrong. Everything's wrong. Sales page is wrong. Everything's wrong. Forget it, and let's create something new. And so I jumped from one offer to the next, and I recreated the same results, not realizing that goal setting and achieving especially if you have some kind of a big goal towards which you're moving. Sustainability is a big goal, like working fewer hours, making the same amount and more. It's a really feasible goal, but it builds on your consistency. But if you try one thing and then it didn't work and you're forget it, let's go to the next. But if you look at goal setting as concentric circles, it changes everything. So learning to analyze your results is very important. And it's probably one of the best skills that I learned as a business owner when I did my own coaching certification and training. I realized that is a part of the process, is looking at your results as a scientist, not as a way to sort of beat myself up about it. To say, okay, well, this time I ran the program, I ran my launch, and I got, instead of 10 people, I got 3. Okay, so what can I learn? And then it's very important to stay committed to the process. If your goal is to eventually work to a point where the hours that you are teaching are no longer going to be what constitutes your actual income, right? I mean, obviously you can sell hours and you can sell offers with hours, but when you get to a point where you're no longer worried that, I don't have so many clients, you have options. When you get to a point where you have options and you can sell different things and you can communicate different things, this journey takes commitment and consistency. So this is my short introduction into why voice chat programs fail, what happens when they fail, and what to do about it. And I hope that you find it helpful. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments, and I would love to interact with you. There's also some information in the description about the programs and products that can help you get more strategic launches and more specific in your offer of a voice chat or Google Docs based program. So please check it out, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate your attention, and I'm wishing you all the best on your journey towards building a sustainable online language teaching business. Thank you so much, and until next time.